Welcome to Helping Hands with your hosts, John Neiman and Judy Ritchie.
Hello and welcome to Helping Hands. This is our opportunity to let you in the community know how you can lend a helping hand to a program or agency in need. I'm Judy Ritchie with Oshkosh Family Meals on Wheels.
And I'm John Neiman with Aurora Medical Center, and welcome to our May edition of Helping Hands. They say April showers bring May flowers. We're so glad the weather is gorgeous, everything's in bloom, and you're watching us on CATV2. Also, where can you hear us? You can hear us on the radio at 101.9 FM, also on Charter 984. This is our opportunity also to thank our sponsors who make this program possible for us, our Set Design Floral by Harnix, and also Aurora Healthcare, who is our monetary sponsor. Because of them, this is the 12th year that we are bringing to you Helping Hands. Action-packed show today, 2 guests for both segments. So, Judy, would you like to introduce our first guest?
I would. This is a gentleman who has been working with a lot of groups in the community to address some unmet needs. It's Steve Kaiser. Some folks may recognize him from the Oshkosh Police Department in the years past. May have had some encounters with him, good or bad or indifferent. And I kind of got strong-armed into working with him these days. We're working on a project called H.O.M.E, helping owners maintain equity. And it's geared towards low-income folks that need some help. And so, Steve?
Yes, Judy. Approximately 2 years ago, after I had retired from the police department, I began volunteering and served on the board of directors for Habitat for Humanity. One of the things that Habitat for Humanity had was a neighborhood revitalization initiative program which helped people maintain, or low-income people maintain their homes. One of the things that I found out when I was with Habitat was most organizations such as Habitat assist people from the 30% to the 80% of the median income level. However, there is not a whole lot of assistance for people under the 30% of the median income level. So after I left Habitat, I spoke to numerous agencies throughout the community and we figured out that there was a need for the program, and basically that's how it started. Last year in February, we partook in the Creating a Stronger Community contest through the university, took first place. We got about $1,500 for seed money. After we got the $1,500, at that particular point, we started with the program.
And the number of folks that were intended to be served in the first months of the program were what, 6 or 8, something like that?
Well, we were hoping to serve between 12 and 24 people in the first 12 months of the program, and as of today we're on 26, and we've been operating the program for, even though it's been 6 months, I've only been here 4 months because I was in Florida for 2 months. So basically for the 4-month period, we've already exceeded the goal that we had set for the first year.
And when we're talking that, you're actually talking the number of people who have been served. It's not the number of jobs that have actually been done.
Correct. It's a number of people it's a number of households.
Right.
There's been more than 26 people because some of the people have more than one person in the household, but
we have our delightful lady that you've done, probably 10 or 12 projects just for her.
Correct.
With cleaning the yard and the mold abatement in the basement and all the windows and things that were being done.
Correct.
And so part of what's being looked at with this, John, is that trying to make the neighborhood safer, the home itself safer, of the security piece, weather efficiency, keeping the wind out so that people are not paying those extraordinary utility bills. With this program, we've got a very dedicated core group of volunteers, Steve being the main one, that are like the magic genies going out and getting things done.
Yeah, there's all sorts of different things we've been doing. Grab bars in the bathroom or in the tubs for the elderly, railings, minor basement leaks, We resurfaced the deck after someone had, an elderly disabled lady had a visitor. They walked out onto the deck, fell through the deck, so we resurfaced the deck for her. We've provided some plumbing supplies for an individual who had lost a leg and needed some plumbing work in his residence. Tile replacement, yard cleanup, window glass replacement, weather stripping, clean gutters, adjusted door locks, doors, deadbolts. One of the things that we have not been able to do at this point, and we're hoping to expand into that area, is plumbing and electrical. I am not a licensed plumber. I'm not a licensed electrician. We do not have any volunteers currently that are licensed in those areas. So what we are doing is we are hoping to find eventually someone that'll work at either on a volunteer basis or at a reduced cost to come in and do some electrical and minor electrical and plumbing. There's a lady right now that she turns on her light switch and the light flickers on and off, and it looks like it's an easy fix, but we just can't do anything at this particular point because we're not licensed.
So how would anybody in the community find out about you and if they're qualified to have your services? How do they get the information?
The best way to get the information is go to our website, which would be www.helphomeoshkosh.com. It explains our program on there. You can also call me at 920-658-3024. Or if you're working with anybody through Habitat or the Aging and Disability Resource Center, they also have our information, and they can. We've worked quite a bit with Habitat and with the Aging and Disabilities Resource Center on referrals.
So they would have a lot of the information, because I'm thinking that the website is good, but a lot of people, the elderly, don't have access to a computer or the website.
Correct.
So the phone number helps, which is 658-3024, but also getting referrals from other agencies who deal with people.
We're also in the process of developing a brochure, because I spoke to an individual I know at the senior center, and he said the same thing. He says, well, we do have the elderly here that come in, they're wondering about the program, but they don't have a computer. So he was wondering if we could get a brochure over to him, and then they're going to put the brochure up down at the senior center.
And we've talked a lot of that, and I was just here looking it up. We don't have it for the screen, but the Aging and Disability Resource Center, the ADRC, is a really great go-to place. And that phone number is 1-877-886-2372. Or, of course, people can always call John or me, and we can get that information to you. It's really important because there are folks, excuse me, there are folks that are what we consider falling through the cracks. They want to stay in their homes. They're maybe not the homes that we're used to living in, but they're their homes. They take pride in it. And sometimes it's those little repairs that can make a huge difference. And like with Carol working with her, she was talking about having her home repaired enough that she could sell it. And now she's talking about remaining in the home. What you see on the screen right now, Steve?
That's Carol's basement. The wall was leaking at the bottom, so what we did is we waterproofed the wall. She had paneling up over the wall prior to us taking care of the leak, and we discussed with her about just leaving the panel off the wall, but she wanted paneling put back up. So the picture on the right shows the paneling that she picked out that we put back up after we took care of the leak in the wall. This is a 89-year-old lady's residence. Those are her bathroom tiles around her tub surround. I didn't get a chance to take the picture because when I originally went over there, they were duct taped on. But when I came over there, they had all fallen off. So we took the panels off, put some cement board behind it, and then retiled it. The picture on the other side is where we retiled the wall. So now she can at least take a shower, because she didn't want to take a bath because she couldn't get in and out of the tub quite as good, so she wanted to keep taking a shower. This is the individual who the lady had a friend that came out onto the porch and went through the porch. So the structure of the steps was there, so we just took the face off the steps and then just redecked the steps and put the railing back on for her.
But each time we do these projects, it's taking something that is really ucky, and with just this, and I shouldn't say just, with the skills you have, are able to make it something that is substantial, is worth keeping, of giving them a little more pride. When we talk about all of this, when we sit in our committee meetings, we talk about the need for volunteers. We've talked about the skilled, the licensed type volunteers, but we need people who can do yard work, who can do the same projects you're doing.
Right.
And they can go on the website, they can call us, and you still do the background check and the application, correct?
Yes, everybody we assist, we do a background, well, we don't do a background investigation on it, but we do an application, a simple application process with them.
So how does it work with the materials? So I know that you ask the homeowners to contribute what they can.
Correct.
So do you buy all of the product they need, and then you just, so say somebody can afford it, you just give them a bill for it, or do you just say this is what it costs and we'll take whatever?
Yeah, usually what we've been doing is the first thing I do is I go over to their house, I fill out the application, make sure that they fit into the parameters. Then I look at the job that needs to be done. I'll go pick out the materials at the store. I keep the receipt. I take the receipt back to the people or the homeowner. The homeowner pays what they can afford of the materials, and if they can afford to pay more for labor, then they pay us more for labor. The labor and the material check that they send to us, 100% of that goes to our accountant and goes into our fund, and everything goes back to help somebody else. There is nobody that gets paid.
So no middleman or administration fees?
There's no administration fees, there's no middleman, there's no nothing.
And I know our time is winding down, but if our staff would put back on the screen the one about where you can send donations, because that would probably be the most important thing right now. So donations can be sent to?
They can be sent to Emmaus Church, attention David Hayford. Emmaus Church is affiliated with us, and they're a nonprofit.
They're our fiscal agent.
They're our fiscal agent. So if you do send a check out to the church, and in the memo area put the word home, H-O-M-E, in the memo. That way the church knows that the money is supposed to go to for home.
And we've been very fortunate because Altrusa Club, the university, a lot of different organizations. Your friend, when you went to get your oil changed, getting a lot of assistance that way. Lowe's are offering a discount on some of the product that we purchase there.
I just spoke to a gentleman, or one of the department managers yesterday from Lowe's. They're going to be working with us. Northern Telephone and Data sent us some assistance, some financial assistance.
So the financial help is great, but we need more volunteers too.
Okay.
Correct. Yes, we do.
So.
Well, thank you, Steve, for being a guest on our
thank
show.
You. Thanks for the invite.
We're so glad. If you want more information on this, besides contacting Steve, you always can contact Judy or myself. Our contact information is at the end of the show, and we'll be glad to pass that information on to you. Thank you for being with us for our first segment of our May edition of Helping Hands. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with our second segment.
Take it slow, take it slow, take it slow. When we see a roundabout, take it slow. Then we pick the correct lane and take it slow. When we see a car approach, we yield to the left. When we're in that roundabout, we don't pass anybody yet. Take it slow, take it slow, take it slow.
Visit WisconsinRoundabouts.com for more info from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation.
Wisconsin is losing our World War II veterans. If you were a World War II veteran, or you know one who hasn't gone on an honor flight to D.C., Please help us. The Wisconsin Broadcasters Association is partnering with all Wisconsin Honor Flight hubs to make sure every eligible vet remaining who served their country so selflessly gets the chance to go. It's time for them to see their memorial. It's time for their flight. To learn more or to make a donation, go to wisconsinhonorflight.org.
Hi there, welcome back to our second segment of our May edition of Helping Hands. A wonderful opportunity for you to find out what's going on in your community or how you can volunteer. I'm John Neiman with Aurora Medical Center.
And Judy Ritchie with Oshkosh Family Meals on Wheels. We'd like to welcome back a guest we had a year ago, and it's called Consider the Conversation, or Advanced Directives. Lynn Hergy, who is an ICU nurse at Aurora. And what are advanced directives in the conversation and the importance?
All right. The conversation to be had with your loved ones is what you would like to have occur if you're not able to speak for yourself for your own health care. So we're talking about health care decision making and assigning the appropriate people to speak for you if you're not able to speak for yourself. So Aurora is offering an event called Consider the Conversation. And the conversation, it's a great way to prompt the conversation within a family. It's such a difficult thing to talk about. And so by coming to the Aurora event, you can bring your friends, you can bring your family, enjoy a little movie, think about it a little bit, and then move on from there to actually talk about what your wishes would be at the time that you were severely ill.
And it's one of those things that in a heartbeat, life can change forever.
Yes, indeed.
So having it out in place is important. And if you don't do it, what are the consequences?
For those that have not made their wishes known in print, and that's the big thing, is in print. Sometimes we've seen people actually have to go to court in order to be appointed the guardian of their family member because nobody knew, or because there's concerns within the family that one sibling wants this while the other wants that. It's such a hard time in anybody's life, whether you're the person in the hospital bed or the person at the bedside trying to support the person in the bed and do what they want if you don't know what they want.
And it's kind of hard for you because Lynn is an ICU nurse,
Yes.
where the critically people are, and then to have trying to take care of a person, and then you have two loved ones fighting and arguing about whether you should be doing what you're doing to that person or not. It just causes so much stress and tension. And you're the perfect person to talk about advanced directives and 5 wishes because you see the effects of it every day, whether they have one or if they don't. As the chaplain, I've seen it too. If they have one, things just go so much smoother because you know what your loved one wanted, and then you can make those decisions.
Right. There's no guilt. There's no guilt. That's such a big thing. People are afraid to give up.
Yes.
On their mom or their sister. They don't want to say goodbye to Dad, but if Dad's ready to say goodbye, it's so much easier on,
and that's one
the
reason,
family members.
And Lynn serves with us with the ethics committee because sometimes when the people disagree or the caregiver disagrees, we bring it to an ethics committee to get another point of view on it. That's one reason Lynn has been with us too. This is the 3rd time we're doing this event, Consider the Conversation, because we want the community to know what the options are and how to make things so much easier for people. So I'm so glad you're here because it's nice to have someone who's in the trenches and dealing with this and can speak from the heart on what's the importance of coming to Aurora on May 14th. It's a free event, number one. Number 2, there's
Yeah,
refreshments.
you want to come? It's free. Oh, and there's food.
There's food, so there's
Free and
refreshments.
food?
And there's
I'm
a
there.
panel discussion with experts there. So talk a little about maybe some of the questions that maybe if people would have thought of before, it wouldn't have been as hard when you had to deal with it.
Sometimes people have to decide whether or not they want to be kept alive with what normally is called life support, a ventilator, artificial breathing. Would it be artificial nutrition if you're being fed through a tube? Sometimes people need to make the decision as to whether or not they want to have CPR if something occurs while they're in the hospital, or do they not want to have what we sometimes refer to as heroic measures. That's an understandable term for most people, to intervene. Do you want heroic measures? Would you want the electrical pedals? You've seen TV and
Yes.
that. Or are you ready to let nature take its course? Which oftentimes people, elderly people more specifically, are at peace. They've had, they're ready and it's okay. On the other hand, we've had young people who have unfortunately become gravely ill, and they don't have any wishes made out because that's for old people.
It's for old people,
It's
and
for
they're
old
invincible.
people. And so we encourage people of all ages to complete their advance directives. It's a very simple form that we use at Aurora called the 5 Wishes. And it's not just, I would like this or not like that, but there's also very specific things in that are lovely. I would like these people at my bedside.
Or I would like to have my hands and my feet rubbed.
Right.
Or this kind of music playing.
Right.
Or things like that. I've redone mine twice in the last 4
personalized.
years.
Yeah.
And I remember one because I can witness the advance directives, and
It's awesome.
I was there with an elderly woman, and I was reading it over for her, and she said in her advance directive for 5 wishes, I don't want this daughter in the room with me. And I thought to myself, do I question this or do I let it go? And I questioned it, and she said to me, my daughter is a crybaby. And she said, I want to leave this world peaceful and happy, and I've already told my daughter you're not going to be there, and she understood. And that's what she wanted.
Oh, how beautiful.
And
Perfect.
to get what you want when you're leaving is...
And they had the conversation.
Yes, and that's
so
very
the daughter is not hurt. So that, the mother isn't uncomfortable because the daughter's crying at the bedside. Because sometimes people are fearful to let go. If they're ready to go, but they're fearful to let go because their
family's
family
not allowing
is
them.
there.
Yes.
Right.
And there's
It
some myths
hurts.
that I've learned coming from the spiritual side now into the medical side, talking about CPR and really how many people survive CPR and the effects of it on them. And also, a lot of people have this idea, like you mentioned, that you're starving someone to death if you're not giving them food or water. And can you talk a little about that?
A little bit. I have been a hospice nurse. I didn't know if you knew that. But at the end of life, people generally do not have a hunger. They don't have a pain level very often. They oftentimes come to a very comfortable place that allows them peace and rest. And that can be beautiful. Now, you mentioned the spiritual side. It's an amazing thing to witness when someone who is comfortable with the process of dying themselves and the family is there, and suddenly the person who is passing starts talking to people who have passed before. Oh my goodness. As a faithful person myself, does that not give you chills?
It does, but it's the being welcomed to that next home.
Exactly. But it can be a beautiful, beautiful process. It's such a sacred time in people's lives. Birth and death. And we want death to be as wonderful as it can be.
Address one myth, that just because that paper designates me to be Dad's healthcare power of attorney, I can automatically make decisions.
Not until a person is actually deemed incompetent. And if the person is awake, then, and there's confusion or a history of a dementia or things like that, sometimes we'll need to have a psychologist come in and actually perform an examination that can in his or her professional opinion, say this person is not competent to make their own decisions. They don't understand the options that are available. And at that point, then the advance directives can be activated, is the official word for that.
In the meantime, you can share your opinion.
Yes.
Or, if it were my decision to make, this is what I would do for me. But it's not saying this is what you need to do.
Right. Conversation, constant. Communication, constant. With your healthcare provider, long before this ever happens. Once you've made your advance directives on paper, that you've talked to your family, everybody knows, make sure you give that to your physician and to your treating hospitals. It's not a bad idea to give it to every hospital you might ever come in contact with. I know that sounds silly, but I live in the valley.
Mine is scanned so that it can be printed out and it's ready to go.
Right.
And it just is, and as you said, and I can see why you went into nursing, because you just have this way about you that I think would be very comforting to someone in the ICU or with hospice or VNA, because you need that kind of person with you, especially during that time. And like you said, sometimes it's hard for people to think, how can death be beautiful? But if the person is going the way they want, and we have seen it so many times too, that person is waiting to say goodbye to one person yet, and that family member hasn't come, and when they come, and the family leaves the room for 5 minutes to get coffee, and the person passes away because that's the way that they want it to go. So again, consider the conversation is the name of the event at Aurora. We invite you to come, bring family and friends, first floor conference room, A and B, as you can see on the screen. It's a free event. It's also a chance for you to ask questions, because we'll have doctors there, nurses there, other staff there who can answer your questions, and we have people with a lot of interesting questions that come.
And somebody else's question is the one you haven't thought of. And that's why it's nice to talk in a community like this, and to have so many different people on the panel that can speak. John will be speaking from a spiritual aspect. Many people have questions about, is it okay to stop things?
Right.
Or should I never have intervened in the first place? Those are really tough questions. From a faith standpoint. On the other hand, we'll have physicians there who will talk about how to talk to your physician about these things and what would or wouldn't be appropriate given your circumstances or illness background, things
We're
like
going
that.
to have you come back and talk about the wrap-up of what happened at it then, too. Daryl's telling us we're out of time.
Oh, no.
But again, we want to stress the importance of the event for everyone in our community. Consider the conversation at Aurora. Thank you for being with us. I'm John Neiman with Aurora Medical Center.
And Judy Ritchie with Oshkosh Family Meals on Wheels.